Greetings, people. It's Jared here, Wolfcade1, back to do another Transformers review. This week, I thought I'd take a look at one of the Titans Return Decepticons. And this is a figure that I've had in my collection for quite a while, but it's been sitting up in a box because originally it was supposed to go to Dan, Tatman's Prime. So what I said to him when I spoke to him recently was I'd review this for you just to give you a feel of what it's like before I send it off to you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a review for Titans Return Scourge.
Okay, so here's Titan's Return Scourge in his futuristic hovercraft spaceship mode thing. Interestingly enough, if you look at variations of Scourge throughout the ages, I guess the only one, well, it doesn't really count, but I was going to say the only one that really makes any marked difference between the others is the RID one, which was basically just supposed to be a clone of Optimus Prime. And he took the name Scourge, really. In terms of actual alt mode designs, I'd say the one that pushed the boat out the furthest would have been the Titan, not Titans, the Generation Scourge that turned into like the B-52 bomber, the flat wing bomber thing. Apart from that, a lot of them have followed basically a standard-ish sort of design when it comes to like there's certain tropes that you expect to find from a Scourge, like the sort of the curved front end, which would invariably become his feet or part of his legs or things like that. Yeah, it occurs to me that I think this is like the third time I've reviewed Scourge now on this channel, or a variation thereof. Obviously, I did my Target Master, but wasn't a Target Master. I did the Studio Series 86 sweep. Basically, this is just shameless self-promotion to go back and check those videos out and tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. But we're looking at Titans Return Scourge here. Now, I've had this guy a couple of years. He's mostly been in a box because I intended to send him on to Tatnus Prime. And Dan, Christ, I still intend to do that. And basically, this review is just to say that I've reviewed it. And then eventually it will be finding its way to Ohio. So, Titans Return Scourge. So it does something a little bit different. Than it incorporates different things from different versions. So for the most part, so if we take the standard idea of the G1 stroke Studio Series 86 version, then you've got the overall shape of the hovercraft spaceship, which again the curvature on the front just here, sweeping back, and in terms of like this sort of G1, it was all molded into like sort of one design. This one takes a few liberties with it by making it jutty outy and a little bit like that. You've got these things, which are a new addition, these like sort of tail fin wing things. I kind of like those. Actually, shame that they're not articulated, but whatever. And from the Generations version, you've got this section here now. On the Generations version, these thruster intake engine things actually transform to become the arms. So that there's different design elements that they've sort of incorporated into one. And to be fair, I mean the alt mode for this guy is by far the least shittest thing about it. I'm going to just turn him over, and we've got most of the robot mode underneath. Now, a lot of people argue that because of Scourge's overall design, that the shell former thing is inevitable. To a degree, I would say that's true, except the Generations version showed that actually mostly every part of that alt mode went somewhere. It doesn't have to follow the most of the robot is tucked up underneath. So the transformation for this guy is a little bit lazy. Because there's not a hell of a lot to do with it in terms of that. You can see the chest, you can see the arms, you've got a good idea these are going to be the legs. It does one or two different things which you have to give it props for giving it a different element of transformation. So that's always good. But in terms of the alt mode, I think the alt mode is snazzy as fuck. Would be interesting to see a couple of repaints of this in terms of like sort of different characters. I know they did the Generations one as Senator Ratbat, I think, from the IDW verse and things like that. So yeah, so that's him. Let's have a look at some of the things that Scourge came with. So he would have come with his instruction booklet. So fucking yay for that. A little tech spec card with some pretty nifty artwork on the front of it, gotta say. Comes with, if I can get this shit out of the way, comes with a tiny little headmaster. This is Fracas. As we all know, Fracas in the Generation 1 continuity. The original Fracas turned into his gun. So that's that little guy. He's a little bit awkward and loose. So when you transform him to head mode, I'll just get that out of the way now. nothing sort of like sits as tight as it should do, and it's more prevalent in robot mode than it actually is here. I've got to say the sculpture, the let's see if I can get a close up of that. Focus, you fucker. And the head sculpture, the face sculpture, and that is really nice. It's a shame that I'm not getting. There we are. That's better. Some nice little detail with the silver paint and everything like that. Maybe pick out the moustache with a bit of black or something like that. But other than that, I mean, the face sculpture is decent enough. He also comes with one weapon here which can be used as a handheld weapon, which is supposed to emulate the dick on the top of his head. So there's that. And then it comes with this double blaster thing, which can attach to different Titan Masters, attached to the vehicle mode, everything like that. And if he wants to, Fracas or another Titan Master can sit in the weapon like that. And then you can add this weapon to the top of it, so it becomes like a. And then basically, if you notice that, it almost looks like Fracas's Target Master weapon in the G1 continuity. So they did that. I mean, they did that with the Generations as well, where you could mix the two weapons together to form something akin or a homage, if you will, to the original. But in terms of him as well, let's get back to this fucker. So we can put Fracas in the cockpit, which sits very, very nicely at the back there. Put him in there, close him up, and he's done. So if I come out of that a little bit, there we are. And then we just basically give it the weapons. Now you can put the weapons in different places. To be honest, attack modes, varying degrees of success. You know how I feel about them. But if you wanted to give it a non-symmetrical, proper shit look, you could put his weapons on the sides, and that looks like wank. So I don't do that, weirdly enough. But if you want to give him his classic Scourge look, just stick that on the top. Focus the camera if you were that way inclined, and there we go. And yeah, that's basically Scourge in his alt mode. To be fair, like that, I think. I mean, this shit here, do away with that shit unless you've got a Fort Max you can plug it onto. In terms of overall design, I'd say this is where the figure particularly excels. Okay. There's a nice contrast between the different shades of blue. Nothing on there is white. The pale blue, the sky blue, and the dark, sort of like darker blue. Not quite a midnight blue, but the camera's making it look a little more metallic and darker than it actually is. Having said that, of course, you know, whatever. I would say this particular mode does just enough differently from the other Scourge molds where you could have this. So for example, if you've got the Studio Series 86 Scourge or sweep and you were using that as your primary Scourge, you could have the Generation Scourge as a sweep. You could have this one here as a sweep, just to show variations on a theme. That's the thing that always bugged me about the sweeps of Scourge, was that it's block identical, block identical, block identical. So when it got to the Studio Series, the 86 line, the fact that they decided to put them in two different shades of blue, I thought was a miracle, because there wasn't fuck all else you could do with it. But apart from that's it. I would advocate having different versions of Scourge to iterate different sweeps, main sweeps, whatever, and then Scourge. But we're going to take this guy to robot mode, so we're going to take the cock out of his head, and we're going to take Fracas out of the cockpit. And what we're going to do now is just get it out of the way now. We're just going to transform Fracas into Scourge's head. So he already comes with the little cock thing on the top of his head there, which I guess is pretty cool. So set him off to one side. Then it's always difficult doing this when you've got a camera and you've got the light as well, as trying not to knock either one of them. Right. So transform this bad boy. So we're going to start by disconnecting the side panels, and then we're just going to bring those up like this. Okay. Then we're going to disconnect this front section just like this, and then the legs extend just like that. Okay, so we're going to pull those sections out like this. Okay. I warned you there wouldn't be much of a transformation to this. In terms of transformations, this is kind of, with the exception of the G1, this is probably the most disappointing, but whatever. So you bring those out. And then we bring these tabs forward for the feet, bring the heel spurs back, and then wrap this section around to fill in the gap, and then rotate it forward. Okay, so we're going to do that on both sides. That like that, this like this. Bring this section around the back, rotate the leg forward, and then yeah, we've got this strange body here, which kind of, with these pins here, kind of remind me a little bit of tidal wave. But then what we do is we get the camera to focus again. Focus, fucker. And then we collapse the entire body, not like that, fucking cunt. We collapse this entire section into the main assembly, like that, okay? And then stand him up, bring the light out of the way, bring the camera up a little bit, bring these wings out to the back a little bit, just like that, extend the hands. See what I mean? There's not really that much transformation in terms of the upper body. Bring the arms down a little bit like this, and then that is basically Scourge's body. All you've got to do is then attach the head, right? So we're going to attach the head, little connector, the robot's head goes into the shoulders, and then that right there is Scourge in robot mode. Now, I think maybe the thing that doesn't quite work with this is the sense that the head doesn't have as much grandiose sweepage. What do I mean by that? Well, let's see if I can get this to focus first of all. Get a bit of light on this bad boy. I think the problem is, because Scourge was a very organic, rounded, futuristic design, and his head had that sort of strange blocky quality. It doesn't translate very well here. You think he needs more sort of like sweeping edges on his head, where his head just ends up looking like a strange block. As a result, he doesn't really look like himself. I don't know whether that's a good example. I would have easily imagined this mold remolded or repainted into Alpha Trion, because there's something about the face sculpt there, which if the beard was a bit longer or something, or maybe you can make this A3 or something like that, like the earlier version of Alpha Trion. There's something about this mold here in robot mode which kind of doesn't make him look like Scourge. And I don't know whether they tried hitting certain like tropes, like they've painted this chest section here to make it look like the chest section on the G1, so it's still got the same grill on it and things like that. But there's something very, very odd about the design. Maybe it's the blocky legs with the rounded arms and the rounded shoulders and the rounded chest that sort of don't translate well to each other or something. I don't know what it is, but there's something about him which doesn't make him look like the character he's supposed to be. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to give him his little gun. I tend not to give him this gun here. I tend to put this on his back. Now, he can either have it hanging off his ass like this, or he can have it hanging off him like this, which is, you know, I guess all right. It's kibbly as fuck though, but whatever. And the head is very, very, very loose, as you can see in the shoulder joint. So there's a friction connector that puts the small robot's head into the shoulders and keeps it there. But you can do an Indian head waggle fucking fantastically, and the back of the head is very, very loose on that hinge just there. As a result, the head doesn't sit together or pose as well as you want it to. Despite that, he can get some decent poses for what he's worth. And in terms of what he's worth, this camera not focusing is pissing me off. In terms of what he's worth, I'm glad I didn't pay more than £10 for him. Because I might have been a little bit pissed off. In fact, actually, no, I paid £8 for him because he was reduced on the Sunday, and it was the last little bit of money I had, so I thought, fuck it, I'll get Times Return Scourge. I don't necessarily regret the purchase, per se, because I think, yeah, fuck it, it was worth £8, and it was boxed brand new. I do regret it in the sense that it's not a figure that I'm going to keep. Now, I'm donating it to Tatamus. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just punting off all the shit I don't want on Tatamus, and fuck it, it's his problem from now on. But I do believe that he might take more enjoyment out of it, whereas perhaps I was unable to. He'll find an appreciation for it that I wasn't quite able to deliver on. He's not a shit figure. He just doesn't quite tick the boxes to be defined as a Scourge. As a sweep, yeah, maybe. If it Titans Return sweep, that could have been quite good, and then remold part of the upper body for Scourge, or remold the head a little bit for Scourge. But there's something about the head doesn't entirely convince me that that's who it's supposed to be, which is a fucking weird thing to say, ladies and gentlemen. But that's the shape of the matter. Really. That's where we are with that. So yeah, that's my review. I don't hate him, but he didn't set the world on fire for me, which is a shame, because a lot of the figures that I picked up in the Titans Return line, like Trigger Happy, for example. Trigger Happy knocked it out the fucking park. Trigger Happy was amazing. Slugslinger was amazing. I really, yeah, I mean, the Decepticon ones I felt kind of were like more successful than the Autobot ones there, but whatever. That's a conversation for another time. Titans Return Scourge, ladies and gentlemen. He is what he is. He exists, and I guess that's okay. So, thank you very much for watching this review. This is Gerald Gavin Barry, also known as Wolfgang1, saying I'll be back next week with more Transformer reviews, more silliness. I've got some other silliness planned on my channel that I'm trying to work out the particulars on. Obviously, Series 3 of 7 Days to Die is finished now, and Series 4 won't be starting until November. But I am in talks with Dave 619 about what we can do to fill the gaps. So, thank you for watching this review. Do join me next week, where we'll be sitting down and having this conversation about some other load of shit that I've got in my collection. Until we see each other again, thank you for watching and take care. And when tomorrow comes, I feel you laying by me, like you ain't got nowhere else to go.